Hi guys, today I want to talk about maintaining your vehicle whilst you're on the road. So I check the fluids about once every day, maybe once every 2 days, depending on the conditions. I check the suspension components, steering and driveline about once every 3 or 4 days. So to do this, what you will need is a pry bar like this. You'll need a picnic blanket from the reject shop, which will cost you about $4, and a pair of gloves. So let's get into it. First thing I do is check the oil level. Obviously make sure your engine's stopped for at least an hour before you do this. You want to make sure your oil level's between the two lines, not below and not above. Make sure your oil fill cap is tight. I have lost one before in the past on a corrugated road. It was really annoying to try and find another one. Check your steering fluid level. Of course, check your brake and clutch fluid. Make sure it's between the lines specified on the side of the jar. And don't miss your wiper fluid. It's really annoying when you've got dust on the windshield and you can't get it off. Do a visual inspection of your belts. You're looking for any frayed parts, any worn parts, or any suspect looking areas. Make sure your coolant level is at the right level. Don't neglect your battery. Check your terminals, make sure there's no loose connections. Make sure that the clamp is not loose on the posts. And make sure there's no build-up around the terminal posts. So guys, the final thing I do in the engine bay is just to have a good look around. Make sure that there's nothing that looks suspect. Look at bolts, look at the alternator mounting, look at the cabling, things like that. The next step, guys, is to put your picnic blanket down on the ground at the front of the car and jump under. You can see that every nut and bolt in my suspension and steering system have been marked with a paint pen. This allows me to see any relative movement in that joint between the nut and the part or the nut and the bolt. The next part is to check for loose joints. So grab your steering link, wobble it back and forth. Grab your drag link, wobble it back and forth. Just make sure there's no play in either of the ends. Suspension dampener. Any component that you can grab, just make sure there's no movement. Once you've done your basic shake and wobble test, grab your pry bar and start prying some of the joints. Here I'm checking for movement in my lower control arms. Always check your track bar's upper joint. That's a classic for coming loose. Mine's good. Suspension bushes are another classic to get punished on corrugated roads. Take your pry bar and put it under the suspension strut and jiggle it up and down. You can see I've got a little bit of movement there, but nothing to be concerned of at the moment. Make sure you check things like the control arms adjustment mechanism. It's not uncommon for those jam nuts to come loose. Always check your drive chain too. This is my front drive shaft. You can see the bolts have been marked with a paint pen. Now, once you've done the front, move on to the rear. The first thing to do here is just like the front, check your paint marks. At the rear it's getting a little bit old, but you can still see it. Check your rear suspension bushes. Make sure there's not excessive play, top or bottom. Check your rear track bar bushings. They seem good to me. Same as the front, check your control arm bushings. Make a visual inspection of your brake system too. It's not uncommon for a boot to be damaged or a bolt to come loose, or even a brake line to rub against a shock absorber or the frame of the car or the sway bar or anything really. Once you've got a hole worn in that, you're going to have a lot of problems fixing it in the bush. Check out your springs. Make sure they all look good and the mountings don't look broken. Inspect the differential for any leaks. Last thing to do is to make a general inspection. Check things like your chassis mounts, any wiring, Check your tow bar hasn't come loose. Well, final step guys is just to jump under the middle of the car. Just check out your drive shaft, your transfer case and the engine. Check out your CV joints. Slip joint boot on your tail shaft. Front CV joint. Check your transfer case, hasn't got any leaks or any other visual issues. Move down to your engine, just check there's no leaks there. Exhaust pipe's okay. Of course, don't forget your trailer. So here we're looking for any loose nuts on the U-bolts, any spring separation, any shackle problems, any problems with the cables. I always make sure that I do a general check on the trailer chassis as well. It's not uncommon with trailers for them to develop cracks in the welded joins. So guys, there it is. That check will take you all of 10 minutes and could save you a lot of heartache down the road. I hope you found this of interest. Join us next time.